I just spent 1 month traveling Route 66 from LA to Chicago across America. But then when I finished, I was out of time, so I crossed the Mississippi River, parked my car in Kansas City, and flew to Astoria, Oregon for Goonies weekend and the 40th anniversary of Short Circuit. There was just one problem when that wrapped up. My car was still back in Kansas, and so I flew back to Kansas City where my friend Al picked me up in his truck with just one problem. A massive storm was headed straight toward us, and a tornado actually touched down on the ground. So I land in Kansas City, and like literally 20 minutes down the road, your girlfriend's calling like, dude, we got a tornado on the ground coming at you. It's coming for us. That's cool. Al's grown up on the plains his whole life. Al's not concerned. No. He's not really concerned. He's more concerned about the hail. Yeah, if we break the windshield, do I owe you a windshield? No. Okay.
It's just not even gonna happen.
So we're just gonna drive into the, we just figured let's just drive into it.
Yeah.
Because then we can core punch. Don't worry about it. So we core punched through the storm. I eventually got my car, swung by the store owned by the guy that bought the Goonies house, which actually is in Kansas, pretty close by. Then down across the prairie to Yates Center, Kansas, which no one's ever heard of, where my friend Al is from, and I hadn't been in 25 years. Took a little rest in a small hotel, and now we're back in Independence, Kansas. Founded on the edge of the prairie in 1869. It's a pretty cool town full of that turn of the century architecture, that Main Street USA type of feel. Plenty of attractions here in this town, which we'll get to, but probably nothing more famous than what's located 15 minutes outside of town, the original Little House on the Prairie. And I know what you're thinking, that doesn't look like the Little House on the Prairie. Well, long before there was a TV show, Little House on the Prairie was a book, one of a series of books written by Laura Ingalls Wilder about her own and her pioneering family's life traveling across America, looking for somewhere to settle down. The books became extremely popular in the early 20th century, and although that house, that Little House, is a reconstruction, this is the exact place where Laura Ingalls' father, Pa Ingalls, built his original Little House on the Prairie. Now, today it's a museum with a couple of different historic buildings, including this little farmhouse from much later, obviously, that has a little gift shop. It's where you check in, you buy your admission, which by the way is only $5, making this a great stop for anybody, right? Not expensive, and then you can say you've seen the real Little House on the Prairie. But this is actually very exciting for me to be here because I am a fan of the book Little House on the Prairie, the whole book series, and historians all agree this is the exact site where Charles Ingalls settled his family in 1869 when there was nothing out here but tall prairie grass, until just over a year later the US government forced them to move because they had in fact accidentally crossed the boundary into Native American land set aside for Native Americans. But not too long later they were gone, and another farmhouse obviously was built on the property with a new owner who had no idea the history. But when they had their little farm out here, they had a little garden just to the west, right where the Little House is standing now. And they actually found a horseshoe buried in the ground, for all we know belonged to the Ingalls family's horses. I'm gonna go inside in a second. There's a whole bunch of people in there. Sorry about the wind, by the way. My powers do not extend to controlling the weather, not yet. There's a cute little gift shop in there. They don't call this a museum, they call this the information center for the property. I just wanna see if I can lay my eyes on that horseshoe. Gotta get out of the wind. The little store is so cute. They've got little prairie dresses. Of course they have all Laura Ingalls Wilder's books, all the Little House books. But hidden among the jams and the coloring books and the cute little souvenirs, there are some artifacts, including this axe found on their one neighbor at the time's property, an axe that was almost definitely his and almost definitely used to help build the original Little House on the Prairie, as well as some of Laura's sister Carrie's plates, china, I guess you would call it, her bone plates that the museum acquired. They've also got a little trunk that sort of replicates what the family would have taken with them on their wagon as they moved across the country and settled in different places. But as for that horseshoe I was looking for, that is not in this house, that is in the Little House. But before we go into the Little House on the Prairie itself, I want to show you something. This is how they proved that the house was actually on this site and not, somewhere else off in the fields. They knew this particular plot of land had been staked out by Charles Ingalls from all the old records and stuff, but it wasn't until they found this 20-foot deep, rock-rimmed, hand-dug well that they knew for sure that this was the site of the Little House on the Prairie itself. If you read the book, it's actually pretty darn intense. I know more people have probably seen the TV show this day and age than have actually read the book Little House on the Prairie, but it is a cute story. And although it's told through like her childhood memories, right, it's a pretty honest story about what it felt like for this small family that had pretty much nothing coming out here and trying to stake a claim out on the prairie. All poor Charles Ingalls wanted to do is move his family somewhere where he could raise up a little crop of wheat. And throughout the series of books, the family kind of faces disaster after disaster, bad luck after bad luck, including here, of course, where he had done all this work, but ultimately had to move on. All right, it's time. Dude, that is amazing. I mean, I know it's a replica, but still, it's built using the traditional methods with the same exact type of wood you would find in this area. There are plenty of trees out here now that this area has been settled, and trees were planted over the years by farmers, but especially after the Dust Bowl in the 1930s. But back when the Ingalls got here, it would have been pretty hard to find wood to build a cabin. Laura's book gives you a real insight on just how difficult it was to even build something like this and try to live out here with hardly anybody around for miles and miles, what it was like to get sick, what it was like to call the doctor. It's pretty amazing, man. Pretty humble accommodations in here, that is for sure. Obviously, they've put the things in to this little replica cabin that she mentions in the books. You have the family lantern hanging from this beam up here. There are few pots and pans. They're simple kind of homemade beds. Oh, and look at that. There it is. That is the horseshoe that they found on the property. Dude, that is amazing. This horseshoe was probably on one of Charles Ingalls' horses when he built this little house on the prairie. Of course, he was here with his wife, Caroline, his daughter Mary, and Laura, and this is where their sister Carrie was actually born, right here on this property. And dude, this is a pretty small house just for one person, much less two people, much less five people. Pretty hard to see because it's backlit by the door, but look at that. Got Pa Ingalls' rifle over the actual door itself. The family trunk, a couple of churns right there, spinning wheel. Look at the baby cradle right there. I'm assuming that that's what that is. A small handful of tools to do your farming. This would have been house and barn, right? You couldn't just leave the tools out to be destroyed or stolen or anything like that. Probably one of the most touching things in the books is that anytime Pa can bring home even the smallest little thing, a teapot, whatever it is, for Ma Ingalls to use, just how grateful she is, how excited the children are. You know, we have this new little precious thing, because there were not a lot of luxuries in the Ingalls family back in that day. Not a lot except for this one thing right here. The little China shepherdess, the little porcelain figure that Caroline Ingalls brought with them to each new home. It's cute that they have something out here at least to sort of represent that. And then there's the mantle down there. You can see the cabin was reconstructed in 1977, so kind of the peak of Little House on the Prairie fame. I was just thinking how difficult it would be to just build a cabin out here in what was then kind of the middle of nowhere, you know, far from supplies. Now even this replica has the advantage of being able to just get boards from a nearby hardware store for the roof. And I don't think that Pa Ingalls had access to hot glue back then, but what do I know? And then look at this. The Ingalls family has come up. They've got electricity now. It'd be pretty funny to set this all up like this, all traditional, and then just have like a little Xbox playing in the corner. Anyway, this little replica standing pretty much where the original cabin would have stood is amazing. The horseshoe, I think, is really the most amazing part, especially since it's just sitting out here. You can actually kind of lightly, gently, and respectfully touch it. I can't tell you how accurate the artifacts are in the cabin or the architecture of the cabin, but we do know for certain that walking out of the front door, this view right here, this would be the same landscape that little Laura and Mary and Carrie and Pa and Ma would have looked out on. Sure, it's been transformed by farming. I mean, I can see cows off that way, lots of trees everywhere. This hot, windy weather, they would have experienced just that. Okay, it's not just the little house on the prairie that's on the property. There are a couple other buildings over here, but first, I was mixing up in my head the way that Laura Ingalls Wilder, right, Pa and Ma's daughter, was remembering the story and wrote it down in her book versus what actually happened. What actually happened is that Charles Ingalls was a squatter out here. What was Osage land? A lot of times settlers in the West would move out to an area that they thought they knew the government was about to move Native Americans off of, and they wanted to be out there early so they could lay claim to the land when it would be open for settlers. Unfortunately, after the Osage signed the treaty in 1870, the government came here and told Charles he had no right to this land whatsoever, so he sort of gave up in disgust and moved along. And it kind of wraps up one of the cutest, sweetest, most touching little stories about family and hard work and risk and trying to carve out a little place for yourselves, right up with the craziest of the politics of manifest destiny and the way that Native Americans were treated. So it's a very interesting piece of history all around beyond the story itself, right? It's pretty cool seeing a replica of the little covered wagon, a replica of the plow that would have been Pa's prize possession. And then look at this right here. They've got the Wayside, Kansas post office that they moved here in 1978, just a year after this stopped being used as an actual post office out here. Dates from 1887 when Wayside, Kansas was established along the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad. So a little while after the Ingalls family left the area. I just can't believe that the first little wooden post office they built here, well, or built in Wayside rather, was used for 90 years. For 90 years. People used these little P.O. boxes, these tiny little mail slots, and encountered the teller through these itty bitty little windows over here. Kind of amazing to have all of this furniture out here. Oh, look at this, American folk art or tramp art mailbox from 1930s Oklahoma. A lot of Dust Bowl activities and Great Depression. A lot of hobos wandering around would do little crafts and art. Look at the bed in here. Did the postmaster live inside the post office? I guess originally he must have. A couple of little covered wagons in here. Look at the back of the mail slots. That's amazing that that counter has survived, you know. And look at the little door. So this is almost like just please don't come back here, because I feel like I could kick that door into 3 pieces right this second. Kind of amazing, dude. It was a pretty humble life out here in the early days. That is for sure. There's a little sign in there about how they moved this post office from place to place during its heyday, but I couldn't read it because there's a bunch of wasps in there and they were getting ornery. Okay, and this is the other building they're really proud of over here, the Sunnyside School. Look at that old one-room schoolhouse. Look at the school bell down here on display. I actually passed an old one-room schoolhouse yesterday on the way down to Independence from Lawrence, just on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere with like vines covering it. This particular one was built in 1872 and the whole school had room for 36 students, which is about the amount in each one of my classes when I was growing up. They're talking about an 18-year-old girl, Lillian Jones, a great-grandmother to the owners, who arrived in 1901 to be a school teacher, much like Laura Ingalls would grow up to be. Kind of interesting because it's very similar to the one that Laura, Mary, and Carrie would have gone to if they had stayed in Kansas, right? It's kind of cool that the owners were like, hey, our grandma was a teacher like Laura Ingalls. Let's move an old school, her old school, to the property. Hey, the door is actually unlocked. Wow. This is neat. It's especially neat because I have actually been to this museum one other time before. It was actually the last time that London and I finished Route 66. We came by in very rainy, gross weather, and it was at the very end of the day, just as they were about to close everything up. So we didn't get inside the schoolhouse. We didn't get inside the little post office. We just had time to run into the little house while they were locking stuff up. It's kind of amazing to look at the little cabinet of books right there. A lot of books in here. And in fact, have you ever picked up children's books from the early 1900s or even going back to the late 1800s? They're pretty sophisticated. Most adults that I know today in 2026 would have a pretty hard time reading some of the books that kids were reading in this school. And speaking as a parent who just had a kid, whoa, wasp, incoming wasp, get out of here, wasp, what are you, no, look at that thing, whoo, he's mad. Anyway, speaking as a parent who just had a kid graduate a couple of years ago from high school in California, let me tell you, most of his friends could not have completed that bookshelf right there. Not possible. I love this stuff. I love seeing old school desks. Someone scratched in the word dry. Someone put E+F. Oh, a little crush going on back in Kansas. This looks like it said Tom, but it looks like it says T-O-M. Ted M, maybe? That one's easier. Look at that. His name was Earl. Oh, and look at that. One little girl drew a little house on there, maybe. I'm just speculating, but could she have been actually reading the Little House books when she did that? I don't know how long they used this school for. Those books weren't written until the 30s, I think, but still. Maybe. It's kind of interesting. They had a little display case over here with some artifacts and a little replica of the Little House cabin. Here's a picture of Lillian Jones Horton. Sorry about the glare there. And here she is in front of the schoolhouse with some of her students. Apparently they used this school till 1948. I just read that on a little sign over here. And so yeah, it's entirely possible that the kids that went to school in this schoolhouse read Little House on the Prairie, maybe even at school, right, as part of their lessons. And then check this out over here. There's a little display about pioneer medicine set up in this little kitchen right here. Almost looks like a kitchen anyways. I mean, I don't know what else this would be with a little window like this. They're trying to showcase some of the items that Dr. George A. Tan, the pioneer physician that treated the Ingalls family, would have had. And they even have a QR code so that you can visit his grave here in Independence, Kansas. And across the hallway is another little room with some storage shelves and a little stove to warm yourself back up with. Here's a little washing dish so the kids could wash their faces, and the little coat rack. Look at the little names on it. How cute, or well, the little labels where names would have been for kids to hang up their stuff when they came to school. I think that is absolutely adorable. At first I thought, is that somebody's bedroom? And see, I'm still thinking kitchen when I look at this, but who knows? Maybe one of you could tell me. Would schools have had a little kitchen for lunch? I guess so. Maybe that's where the teacher just kept all of her apples. And her leeches. Look at that, they got a bottle of poison in there. Right where the school children are learning. Man, I had some teachers that hated me, but at least they didn't poison me. Send me to sit outside in the rain for like a timeout, send me to the principal's office, send me to detention, Saturday school, suspend me. But at least I never got poisoned. That's true, that's true. My mom was a big reader, so she was a fan of the books. She also grew up right in the era that would have made her a fan of Little House on the Prairie, the TV show. But by the time I was growing up, it just wasn't on. We didn't have cable for a long time. By the time I got cable, I never really got into the TV show. I've seen random episodes. And I also actually never read the books as a child, right? I didn't read them until I was sort of grown up and going through the great American classics. Because even though the Little House books are sort of considered children's books, I mean, they mainly were at the time they came out. And they're written simply enough for children to read easily. They really aren't children's books so much, especially if you read the whole series. I think adults would find them not just entertaining, but insightful, informative, and also, frankly, just cute, right? They're adorable. But they're fascinating because when you read the Little House books, you're reading through the eyes of a child, and so you're getting the adorable side of it. But if you're a grown-up, you're kind of reading between the lines at like some of the craziness that was going on and the real threat of living out here and all that kind of stuff. What's interesting is a little information on the Cherokee Trail right here, which is when a bunch of European settlers, I don't know how else to phrase it. The sign just says whites met up with some Cherokees that were out here on the nation, and they formed a wagon train to go out to the California gold fields. Later it became a cattle trail. So a lot of, informational, educational type stuff out here. And this right here talks about the Osage village that appears in the books, but it's also been sort of replicated out here. A little bit about wigwams and teepees, and as you can see, way back here on the back of the property, they have put a small teepee so you can learn about the deal they made, the treaty they signed when the Americans were kind of intruding on the landscape, and they were bought out by the US government for something like 71 cents an acre. I do not know what that would be in today's money, but I'm guessing not enough. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And we are celebrating America's 250th birthday. I do think this is the greatest country ever. But just like every person and everything human beings are involved with, it is not perfect. There are some ugly time periods. And while no, it's not good to get stuck on it, at the same time, it is good to acknowledge it, right, and tell the full history and not just a little part of it. So that's kind of cool. And oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Look at that. There's horses over here in this corral, but one of them is not a full-sized horse. The Little House Museum has got a little horse, a mini horse, actually two mini horses and one full-size one. Hello there. Hi, little horsey. Hello. How are you doing, pretty? Hello. You want to smell me? I don't have any food for you. Oh, I'll just pet you. Don't bite me. Don't bite me. You want to scratch? You want to scratch? Hi. Hey, there you go. Don't bite me, Kay. I don't taste very good. Sorry, I don't have any carrots for you. All there is dandelions. Let me scratch your ears. Oh, you like that? You like a little scratch? Oh, like my cat. You like that scratchy? Yes, it's scratchy, huh? Yes. Are we friends now? Are we friends now, huh? Yes, you get a little scratch there. Horses love a good scratch. Anyway, there you go. The little house on the prairie. Something to get very excited about if you've read the books. If you haven't read the books, still an interesting stop to make. I'm sure it's not everyone's cup of tea, but don't worry, there's still more stuff to see in Independence, Kansas in a minute, which by the way, is not really close to anything. If you're sort of traveling across country, it's a bit of a journey to get up to Independence, Kansas, but one that I think is absolutely worth it. And I can't wait to come back sometime when Pa Ingalls isn't doing some improvements on the property. Now it gets windy and hot here in the summer. They got crazy storms and tornadoes, obviously, and in the winter it's freezing cold out here. So some of the worst weather ever in Kansas, but also some of the most beautiful scenery. And that definitely includes this little corner of the world, man. Absolutely gorgeous here as we go from the little house on the prairie back into town, back to Independence, Kansas, because there's something else I want to see again. Now, the last time I was walking around downtown Independence, Kansas was about 21, 22 years ago, something like that. I was here on tour with my band, and at that time we had a guy playing guitar for us whose mom lived in Independence, so we were staying over here in her house. They were very proud of this town. They took us to their Neowalla play, which is Halloween backwards. And that night he goes, dude, tomorrow I've got to take you to see Monkey Island. I thought, what the, stop the presses. Monkey Island? What are you talking about, Monkey Island? He goes, yeah, Independence has got a Monkey Island. It sounds unbelievable, but as you can plainly see, Independence was a very prosperous town before the Great Depression era. Of course, not only did the Depression come, but also the Dust Bowl, so hard times literally blew in through town, and this place became the focus of a particular WPA project, a government project designed to employ local guys to help them improve a local park here and build a literal Monkey Island, and that's where I'm headed next. Welcome to Riverside Park here in Independence, Kansas. Look at this, they got a jet on a pole. There's a big public pool and a little water park behind me. Tennis courts, lovely picnic areas. There's train tracks everywhere for like little miniature live steamer trains that you can ride on top of. Statues of kids playing with hoses and having a water fight, unless it's a Zoolander situation, right? And look at this, they have their own little miniature golf course in the park. Beautiful fountains, beautiful buildings and infrastructure. Then look at the playground over here. They've got a little Veterans Memorial. On the edge of it, the kids climb on and play on the USS St. Paul. A very cool playground I would have very much enjoyed as a youth. And right next to it, even a huge freaking dinosaur, the Corythosaurus, created for the Sinclair Oil Company's exhibit at the 1964 World's Fair. That's the same World's Fair where It's a Small World debuted, and the Ford Magic Skyway that became the People Mover at Disneyland. Great moments with Mr. Lincoln. For whatever reason, the Atlantic Richfield Company donated the dinosaur to the park. He may not be the only one. I've heard rumors of other dinosaurs in the woods. But while all of this is interesting, none of it is as captivating as the words Monkey Island. And not only does Riverside Park have all these features, as well as, by the way, a giant steam engine, but they've also got a little zoo, the Ralph Mitchell Zoo. And this is one of the places the WPA focused on improving by adding the Monkey Island. By the way, you see these lions right here, these concrete lions are all over the place in this park. I think I was mistaken about the entrance to the zoo. Fingers crossed it should be open today. And it's also free, by the way, but the biggest, most exciting part of the zoo is this. Literally, the Monkey Island. And look at that. There was a monkey on the island, dude. How awesome is that? The monkeys have got a castle on their Monkey Island. And look at this, they even have a little plaque right here. Historic landmark, Monkey Island, built by local unemployed men, 1931 to 1932. Look at that, the monkey's got little doors. They have a window from a glass. That right there is a freaking Monkey Island. Now, the last time I was here, there were no monkeys on the island. The actual Monkey Island itself was abandoned because it was deemed unfit, I think, at the time for habitation by the monkeys. I guess they've really cleaned this place up. Look at that, there's a couple of monkeys right there, climbing up the fire escape, breaking into the back of the castle. The moat is all filled in. They've got ropes to climb on. They've got little waterfalls over there. They got some super loud peacock neighbors. Monkey Island is restored. Now, I'm not just here because Monkey Island is an island that has a castle on it full of monkeys, that would be enough. But one of the rhesus monkeys that was born here on Monkey Island became an international superstar and belongs in the pages of history. This is a statue of her right here. Miss Abel, born in December 1957 here at the zoo on Monkey Island, presumably. And on May 28th, 1959, Miss Abel was shot up into space by NASA aboard a Jupiter AM-18 missile. So she was literally a space monkey, although she was an early space monkey, right? They didn't shoot her all the way into orbit or all the way into space. She was one of the early test pilots to make sure humans could survive up there. They went about 300 miles into the atmosphere, experienced about 9 minutes of weightlessness. I say they because she also had a co-pilot, I believe, named Miss Baker. And they did successfully come back down to Earth and were recovered. Miss Baker lived for decades and became a little space-age celebrity. But unfortunately, while they were doing some tests on Miss Abel, when she came back to Earth, they botched a medical procedure and she did, sadly, pass away not too long afterwards, never to see her home again here on Monkey Island. As a matter of fact, they stuffed her body and it's in the Smithsonian to this day. So it's a mix of amazing story, exciting story, inspiring story, and sad story. But look at this, at least Monkey Island itself is still living on. Look at this, they not only have the castle, they got a whole village down here by the waterside, including a little monkey jail. What do you have to do to go to monkey jail? I'm not sure. And they even have a little drawbridge they can crank up above the moat so that humans can go over there and visit Monkey Island. It's not that far beneath the surface. I'm actually surprised that the monkeys don't dip their little feet into the water. I guess, can monkeys not swim? This looks very easy to escape from, which is maybe why the last time I was here, Monkey Island was, at least temporarily, closed down. But that did not stop us from seeing monkeys out here. After seeing Monkey Island, dude, we were going nuts. We wanted to see some monkeys. Now, you'll notice that all I did was walk in through that gate, which has a little bit of a magnet on it for the wind, and that's about it, right? It's a totally free zoo. You just walk right in, no guide, no guardian. So when we were coming in, we had about 4 or 5 people with us, and 2 of them were smoking, right? And so we're walking around here, and our buddy that his mom lived here was like, oh, there's still monkeys here. Let me go show you the monkey cages. But as we got over here near the monkey cages, an employee came out and said, hey, you can't smoke over here, at least not by the monkeys. So of course we're like, oh, okay, why can't we smoke by the monkeys? And the park employee told us, you can't smoke by the monkeys because the monkeys got addicted to cigarettes and the monkeys became smokers. So our 2 guys put out their stuff and we kept wandering around to find the current monkeys at the zoo, which I suppose was over here, although this does not look familiar to me. I don't know if they've completely changed the monkey cages. They've definitely at least added this fence because I remember getting a lot closer to these monkeys, really close to these little spider monkeys in here. And I'm not gonna name him, but one of our guys decided, you know what, screw that, I'm gonna relight my smoke. And as soon as he did, all the monkeys in the exhibit rushed down to the fence and started sticking their arms through the fence like, please, 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 I need a Marlboro, right? And so I hate to tell you this part of the story, but one of our guys flicked one into the thing and the monkeys grabbed it and started puffing away, but this created a little monkey riot. All the other monkeys were chasing the monkey that had the smoke. The monkeys started screaming and coming from everywhere and running around, and then the monkey took it and ate and put it in it and it ate it. He remembers what happened in 2005. The last day the monkeys had a smoke out here. I know, this story sounds so unbelievable that if there weren't 6 people there witnessing it, I would still doubt whether I'm misremembering it or something. But I just talked to one of my old bandmates about this very story, and unbelievably, it actually did happen. Well, this monkey's threatening me with a pipe. He's threatening me with a pipe if I don't get him some tobacco. Sorry, buddy, I'm all out. I don't have anything on me. There are several other spider monkeys in here taking naps and hanging out up there and not bothered about me at all. The weird thing is this one didn't seem particularly bothered about me until I started telling that story, and then he was all like, please. Now probably these are the children or the grandchildren of the smoking monkeys that I met out here before 21, 22 years ago. But I'm happy to report that as of 2026, the monkeys appear to have quit smoking. They appear to have mended their ways and become smoke-free, productive citizens, very, very healthy, good climbers. And other than this little fella with a little bit of feces dangling from him, they all seem to be very peaceful, very restful. What do you want? You want a different haircut? You want some toilet paper? I don't have any toilet paper, buddy. I'm sorry. Oh, that's not feces. It just turns out that's a boy monkey right there. What is it? Dude, he's been out here telling me about this pipe for a while. He keeps showing me the pipe, brandishing the pipe, running across the... Watch, if I go over here, he's gonna come running with that pipe. Look, there he comes. There he comes. Just wants to show me the pipe. I have no idea what that's about unless they quit cigarettes and started smoking pipes. I don't even have a lighter on me, man. All right, I gotta go now. I hear ya. Anyway, I specifically came out to the zoo today to tell you guys that horrible story. No monkeys were harmed. Then an old guy walked up to our group. He had seen what just happened. Instead of yelling at us, he flicked a cigarette out into the thing. It wasn't lit, and the monkeys ate that one. So they were crazy about tobacco. No wonder that guy told us, like, hey, keep them away from the monkeys. Looks like they got a donkey here. They got a dwarf goat. Monkey Island still going strong. Look at the baseball stadium across the way. This is also where the first professional baseball night game was held, by the way. See, this is what I remember. I remember walking up to these cages, or cages that look like this on the other side, with concrete floors. That's how I remember seeing the monkeys with the smoking incident. Not like those new cages. We got a building over here with some chinchillas and a python and an iguana, some sugar gliders, a sloth, which is very mercifully air conditioned. Man, it feels good in here. And don't worry, sloths are against smoking. There are a lot of no smoking signs in this building. Pretty cool place, absolutely free. And look at this, also inside the zoo is something else. They've got a Kiddieland. Look at this, they've got little teepees out here. There's a little corral with little horses and a fort. And it just keeps on going. Concrete tortoises and alligators, even a little baby concrete alligator. Look at all of this. How adorable is that? I thought this was gonna be the one-room schoolhouse or one of the three little pigs brick house, but I guess it's the Lions International Lodge of Kiddieland. Maybe that's why there's so many lions in this park, huh? They're going to the lodge. And then look at this. Fake Tyler? No, it's not my friend Tuna Tyler. It's Humpty Dumpty, sitting up here on a wall. Look at the way he's sitting. No wonder he fell off, man. Come on. We got a cute little stump table with little toadstool seats. There's even a whole castle down there. Hang on though, before we get to the castle, look at Snow White. I got Snow White out here for all the kids. A big rhinoceros, a couple of frogs. There's little Miss Muffet out there. I could tell by the tuffet. She's eating her curds and whey, and she looks pretty darn nervous, and I would be too if that frickin' spider came and sat down beside me. Look at that thing. That is a Kansas-sized spider right there. Look at this, we got a bear. The old woman who lived in a shoe's house. Peter, pumpkin eaters, very strange pumpkin house with a little pipe straw in there. A big old concrete hippo. Couple of gorillas, an old metal tortoise, and the castle. Dude, I'm 43 years old and I find this exciting. Dude, forget Monkey Island. It's cool that the monkeys have a castle. Look at this. The kids have got their own castle as well. And I can see a couple of families headed this way, so I don't want to hog the castle all to myself. I hated when kids did stuff like that on the playground, you know what I mean? But check that out. They got battlements, they got little arrow slits, parapets, whatever you want to call them. And then look at this. Down here, all kinds of like stone-lined paths into the woods, little trails. What the heck? I want to build a stone castle. Oh no, our park's giving him ideas. Just hold still so he doesn't know we're real gorillas trying to escape. Holy crap, dude. Riverside Park, Independence, Kansas. Must have kept those unemployed fellas busy for a while. Look at this huge cage down here. All these weird kind of half-abandoned trails. There's a freaking creek or a spring or something down here. Pretty spooky because no one's around, and as far as I can tell, there's no animals down here. It's kind of reminding me of the Griffith Park Zoo right now, the old one, I mean. Well, according to the sign, there's supposed to be a bear in here, but at the moment it looks pretty bare of bears. What the heck, dude? All my public parks have back home is graffiti in them. No, there he is, look. There's the bear. Can you see that? I don't know, it's kind of hard. Let me see. See if I can shade you from the sun. No, there he is, the bear. He's hiding out back. He's hiding out back there. He doesn't want anyone looking at him. Kind of hard to see, but he's there. Pretty camouflaged back there. Maybe he's just depressed because he didn't get into the Country Bear Jamboree. Wow. I gotta say, I wasn't expecting to run into bears in Kansas, but that's where we're at. There's also a very sleepy cougar inside of that like pipe thing right there. It's kind of hard to see through the bars. An invisible pot-bellied pig and the most dangerous animal of all in the zoo, man. See, they don't open zoos so man can look at the animals and so the animals can get a look at man and be safe back there behind the glass. Okay, that took way more time than I thought it was going to. It's time for us to be hitting the road. Dude, I did not realize you could climb all over that steam engine. That is awesome. Okay, gotta leave Independence now, so I have to be heading down towards Tulsa tonight. I've actually gotta take a road down from Independence I've never taken before, a little drive through the countryside, which I'm very much looking forward to. But like I said, there may be rough weather out in this part of the country, especially today, but it is some of the most beautiful countryside in America. Just absolutely gorgeous to travel across. I'm sure not so much when you were in a covered wagon, but in a RAV4, it's delightful. It is so gorgeous down here on US 169 heading south. It's almost unbelievable. It looks like a freaking screensaver. It just doesn't even look real. Dude, it's not just the countryside. Even the towns out here are amazing. I'm just rolling through Coffeyville, Kansas right now. Just had to pick up some ice really quick and some Powerade and stuff. I just cannot wrap my brain around how there's not thousands of people trying to move out here, right? Have they not seen enough Disney movies? It's like Summer Magic or one of those. Little sports place that's also the tuxedo rental place. I got the whole high school covered. The Sunflower Soda Fountain, tons of empty retail space and living space, lots of room for people who are creative. This is the most interesting thing to me though. I was walking under this without even realizing what this was. Somebody just built like a shade, like an awning down this entire retail street, right? I guess they were tired of their awnings blowing away in storms. They just built a big concrete one against all of the buildings. I wish I had more time to explore, but I am kind of in a hurry. Like there's someplace I'd like to be before it closes. And by the way, Coffeyville, Kansas is home to this, the Dalton Death Alley, where a couple of the Dalton gang met there. And look at this, look at the little cutout on the ground. That's for Bob Dalton. We've got some horseshoe-shaped tracks over here, so some more oh, look at this. We got another Dalton down. Cannot read that name, maybe you can. This is why it happened. Here's the old historic city jail hiding out back here. A little photo op action, some old jail bars. I guess it used to be across the alley behind me. October 5th, 1892, the Dalton gang robbed two banks at the same time, met by armed citizens. They were all shot up. They were placed in their bodies were placed in the jail. Pretty crazy, man. Deserves a longer video, but what can you do? The Dalton Death Alley. Crazy, the jail used to be right here, and then yeah, they got these like painted silhouettes on the ground. I thought 3 of them died. Oh, there's another one just down the way. I better be careful while I'm in Coffeyville, man. These citizens, they don't mess around. Oh yeah, here we go. Here we go right here. Grat Dalton. Whew. They even outlined his hat. And they outlined the money. He must have dropped it. Yeah, I've seen worse places to die, but I've also seen better ones, that's for sure. All right, it's time to roll out, time to roll out. Say goodbye to Kansas, because we have now made it back to Oklahoma right now. Looks like the timing on this is gonna be tight, but as cute as all these small towns are, and as much as I wanna explore, I'm gonna put the camera down, and I am just gonna book it. Well, once I get around these trucks anyway. There's something I gotta see. All right, see you in a couple seconds. All right, not only have we crossed into Oklahoma, but we've actually met back up with Route 66. I guess I just couldn't stay away. And not only that, we've come to one of the most iconic roadside attractions in American history, the Blue Whale of Catoosa. And since the last time I was out here, which feels like it was 2 days ago, but was probably 2 weeks ago with my son London, the brand new visitor center at the Blue Whale is now fully open to the public. And although the path around the Blue Whale, around the little lake here, around the Blue Whale's Lagoon, doesn't look like it's officially reopened to the public. I do see some people out there on the other side of the whale fishing, so effectively it's reopened. Dude, and look at this, this is crazy. There's already some scaffolding up around the building, even though it looked finished the last time we were here. It looks like some sort of repairs had to be made because this was already painted the last time we were here, so maybe they had to patch something up or something settled wrong. This is cool though. The huge windows on the visitor center have all been covered now with the history of the Davis family that actually built this place and the whole story in detail. This is all about how Hugh Davis over here, zoologist, met his wife, Zelta. And there's all this stuff about how he retired from a zoo and how he built his first animal attraction, Nature's Acres, and eventually the Blue Whale itself. So you don't even have to go inside. You don't even have to be be here before it's closed to get the skinny, to see the blue whale, and of course that big new neon sign lights up incredibly at night from the pictures I've seen. So now you no longer have to worry about getting here at night. I was worried about it, however, because I want to go inside the new visitor center, see exactly what it looks like. I shouldn't say visitor center, it's probably more like a gift shop. Hopefully there are restrooms inside. Oh, these doors are locked. I guess I'm going around the other side. That's a little embarrassing, but we'll leave that in. Oh, it is open. Look at that. There are people inside. Let's open. Oh, it only closed at 4. It is 4:24 right now. I missed it. I missed it again. There are people inside, but that's because they're getting shooed out. Like I said, there aren't people still chilling in there, but the doors are locked. They got a guy standing there letting people out, but not letting people in. So dang it. I came back this way on purpose to see the blue whale of Catoosa in all its fully operational glory, and I was too late. I guess I shouldn't have stopped in Coffeyville. But in my defense, the internet lied to me and said this place would be open till 5 p.m., so I guess I was wrong. Interestingly, on Thursdays, it's open until 7 p.m. I just happen to be here on a Wednesday. Dang it. Well, I'd love to stick around and see what it's like tomorrow, but I gotta be home 7 days from today so I can take Allie up to her sister's wedding, something that cannot be missed, so darn it, blue whale. We were so close. Oh, so very, very close. I still haven't decided the path I'm gonna take to get home, the route I'm gonna take to get home. I will probably not take Route 66 back home yet. I haven't decided, but I mean, I just did spend a month doing Route 66 and not that much new stuff has opened up in the past couple weeks. Well, I may not have gotten inside of the Blue Whale Visitor Center today, but all is not lost, because just down the road in Tulsa, Oklahoma, there are still some epic giant things to look at that never close, like Rosie the Riveter, Cowboy Bob, Meadow Gold Mac, Stella Adam, and of course my favorite, Buck Adam, the space cowboy. Actually, that might not be true. My favorite might now be Piggy Stardust. Undecided. Now, we were just out here in the Meadow Gold District / Land of Giants, looking at all the Tulsa giants installed here by Mary Beth Babcock and her allies in the city. So no need to reiterate the whole history or anything. I just like to come here behind Buck Adams' rump and check out my brick, just to check up on it. Got a couple of bricks in this world, but this one is my favorite because it was purchased by some of you guys. I love that thing. Just gotta make sure Mary Beth is taking care of it, but she's got a great crew. They're all taking care of everything, taking care of business. I said this before, but man, I remember when the only thing to see down here was the old Meadow Gold sign over yonder, which is historic and interesting, but nothing like coming out here today. Anyways, after 5, everybody's still open down here, but just for a little bit. Not too much has changed in the last couple weeks, like I said, but the last time I was here, Mary Beth orders some Random Land hot sauce to sell here at Meadow Gold Mac, a friendly lumberjacks store in there. I'm gonna see if it arrived yet. Nobody knows I'm coming. Surprise inspection. Oh, thank the maker. Look at this. Yes, it's happened. Random Land hot sauce on Route 66 number 2. We got the Jackrabbit Trading Post in Arizona. Look at this, Meadow Gold Mac in Oklahoma. Ooh, and they're plentifully supplied. Come here and grab all of this stuff. Give some to Buck Adam, though. Buck Adam is thirsty for hot sauce. That is the coolest thing ever. I never thought my face or name would be on Route 66. Well, my name showed up because of Buck Adams bricks, and my face showed up here at Meadow Gold Max on the hot sauce. Okay, I now have some decisions to make. I gotta make a lot of decisions. Which way am I gonna go? How fast am I gonna go? Which route do I take? Do I stay on 66 for a little bit? Gotta pull over somewhere and do a lot of calculating. Dude, how cool is that Stella Adam Christmas ornament? I want my own Christmas ornament. Guess I have to have my own giant first. Okay, I'm buying a very large poster. There it is. Look at the size, the giant poster to go with all the giants. Taking that home with me. I hope it fits. Oh, you don't know how bad I want to just sit around. Just want to stay in Tulsa a couple days, hang out, see some of the sights, go to the Outsider's house. But I haven't been able to check my email for like 2 weeks. I have no idea what's going on back at home. I have no idea how bad the credit cards are looking. Probably pretty bad. Worth it though, just saying. But if I'm able to weather the storm and get back out here on Route 66 again in 2026, the centennial year, I 100% definitely will do that. This is why I don't want to linger and kind of half butt it, right? You know what I mean? Like, look at Cowboy Bob right here. What if he only had half a butt? It's much better to whole butt things, unless you're in a no cuts, no butts, no coconuts situation. And then you don't want any butts at all. I love that they've kind of created this little rest area right here for travelers who want to park next to Cowboy Bob. It's very useful. I'm gonna sit down here and do some calculating. All right, I've conferred with Cowboy Bob and I've decided to go rogue, get away from Route 66, at least for a day or two, although I'm sure I'll be back. And if you want to help me stay on the road and make more of these adventures, we have a merch store, we've got Patreon. I guess you could just mail me a sack of gas money if you really wanted to. But of course, we'd prefer you joined us on Patreon. And if you can't do those things at the moment, subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notification, thumbs up the videos, all those things really do help. And they tell YouTube you want to catch up with me later on down the road. Thanks for watching all the way to the very end. I'll see you down the old dusty trail. We've done our duty. You can go home and sleep well.